Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're recapping a romance manhwa called The Remarried Empress. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to my channel. It would help me a lot. Navier Trovi belongs to the House of Trovi, a noble family that has produced multiple empresses. She was chosen by the former emperor of the Eastern Empire to marry his son and rule the empire with him. Even though it was an arranged marriage, Sovieshu and Navier were close since they were young. They were like lovebirds in the eyes of other nobles, and spent their time talking about how they would rule the empire in the future. She was the perfect empress. But that was until the day that Navier, with her arms crossed, announced that she accepted the divorce. The nobles in the hall were shocked upon hearing the news. Some of them expressed their disapproval of the divorce too. Then we see Rashta, or Trashta, Sovieshu's mistress, with a smirk on her face, hidden by her act of being nervous. She noticed Navier looking at her and acted as if she was nervous and innocent. The priest asked if she truly accepted the divorce without any objections, with a regretful face because he was the priest who officiated their marriage. Navier agreed to the divorce. Sovieshu, or Sovieshu, the character's actions literally make my blood pressure rise of relief because even if he felt remorseful about the divorce, everything was going according to his plan. But that was till Navier spoke up. She asked the priest for approval of her remarriage. Both Sovieshu, that shithead, and Rashta, that bitch, are shocked. So is everyone else in the hall. But Navier is standing proud, like the queen she is. Sovieshu demanded that she tell him who she is getting her married to. At that moment, we hear a laugh, and a tall, handsome, blonde-haired man suddenly appears. Everyone starts to wonder why Heinrich is there. But Heinrich walks past the priest and Sovieshu and stands close to Navier, looking like a power couple. Sovieshu is shocked to see Heinrich and is in disbelief too. And this is the divorce scene, the most famous scene. This actually happened after many events, but the author showed us this first to get the readers excited for the revenge on Trashta and Sovieshu, which was definitely worth the wait in my opinion. Now let's go back to a few months ago before all the divorce stuff and drama, when Navier was still Sovieshu's wife. We can see Laura and Eliza, Navier's ladies-in-waiting, discussing something about Sovieshu, but that was until Navier arrived. They stopped talking and switched the topic. Navier noticed the change in their behavior and asked if something happened while she was away. While they began brushing her hair, they told her the story of how Sovieshu brought a girl back with him from his hunting trip. Her ladies-in-waiting had to give her a bath because she was covered in dirt. But they were telling Navier how uncomfortable it was doing it for a person other than Navier. But they noticed that even if the girl was messy and dirty, she was really beautiful too. But not as much as Navier, because she was very beautiful. But then Eliza tells Navier that the emperor had shown concern for that girl. Navier didn't think anything was wrong with that though. The ladies-in-waiting were worried for her, so they asked Navier if they could gather some information on that girl. But Navier just thinks of it as an act of kindness from Sovieshu and dismisses the issue because she knows he is a compassionate person. But soon she will find out what kind of man he is. That night, at dinner with Sovieshu, she asks about the girl he brought from the hunting trip. Apparently, she was a slave too. Sovieshu asks her where she heard that. Navier says that she wants to hear the truth. But Sovieshu says that they only have 2 meals together a week, and that there are many more important topics to discuss. Navier knew he was annoyed by the question, so she decided not to ask any further. Back in her room, she was lost in thought about what had happened at dinner, and her ladies-in-waiting comforted her. They explained that Sovieshu found her accidentally caught in one of the traps, and he said that she wasn't a runaway slave either. He only wanted to nurse her back to health because it seemed proper. Eliza was upset about this, but Laura was seething with anger. She told Navier that this was how her father behaved in the early stages of his affair, and suspected the same of Sovieshu. Eliza tells her to go outside and cool her head. Eliza tells her that this will all end soon, But Navier said that this was common in noble families, and that she should not expect anything different from Sovieshu. So even if he had a mistress, Navier should try not to be miserable about it. She says that she is the one and only empress and that no one could change that. One day, Navier was reading a book in her favorite spot when she overheard some women talking about the girl Sovieshu saved. She was tired of hearing gossip and decided to leave when she heard a voice. She saw a girl with long hair and a smile on her face while she was sitting on the ground. Navier just nodded at her, not wanting things to get complicated. As she turned to leave, the girl called out, "Oh, hey!" Navier was shocked to be addressed so informally because she was the empress. She was in disbelief as she turned to face her. Some ladies tried to get Rashta to leave, but Rashta insisted on staying and began to bother Navier. With no sense of respect, she introduced herself as Rashta with a smile. Navier said hello and tried to leave, but Rashta grabbed her dress, causing it to rip. Eliza slapped Rashta's hand off Navier's dress and scolded her. Rashta was trembling and on the verge of tears, trying to apologize for not addressing Navier properly as the empress. Then Laura came and explained that Navier was the empress of the Eastern Empire and told Rashta to address her properly. Rashta, knowing Navier's position, explained that the girl Sovieshu brought back from the hunt. Navier began to realize what was happening. Rashta said they would be seeing each other a lot, so it would be best to get to know each other. She asked Navier what she should call her. Navier gave her a cold stare and told her to call her the Empress. Navier tried to leave again, but when Rashta tried to grab her, Laura slapped her hand away, scolding her for being so informal. You might think Navier is acting stuck up and too cold and mean, but soon you'll realize what kind of home-wrecking person Rashta is. She puts on an act to seem innocent, but she really just wants to steal the crown. Now, back to the story. Sovieshu appeared and saw that Laura had slapped Rashta's hand, so he ran past Navier to comfort Rashta, who was crying. Navier didn't want to be there, so she made an excuse to leave, but Sovieshu stopped her and told her to leave Laura behind. Navier knew he was going to punish Laura. She refused, knowing that punishing Laura, who was from a high-ranking family, would embarrass both of them, especially since Rashta wasn't even an official mistress. Sovieshu demanded that Laura be imprisoned for 3 days. Laura was scared, but she knew Navier would face his wrath if she didn't agree. So she accepted the punishment and was locked in the tower for 3 days. After the 3 days, Navier personally escorted her out of the tower, made her bathe, and gave her favorite desserts. Hearing this, Sovieshu called Navier to discuss the issue. Navier said that since she was punished by him, she had to take care of her. Sovieshu suggested removing Laura as a lady-in-waiting, but Navier disagreed, leading Sovieshu to accuse her of being disobedient. He then realized he had gone too far and told her to leave. After she left, he called a servant, and to his surprise, Rashta came in. She said she wanted to help and decided to be his assistant. Sovieshu gave her some sweet treats and noticed how easy it was to make Rashta happy, while Navier was cold even when gifted expensive jewels. Rashta suggested that Navier's demeanor might be because she doesn't know the struggles of the world. Then she asked about being his mistress. Sovieshu told Rashta that he had a plan and that there was still time for that. This scene literally made me feel sick. Good thing the next scene is from Navier's point of view. Laura is seen talking about how Navier was busy with planning, while Sovieshu was preparing Rashta as his mistress before the new year. Navier didn't realize he would take her in so fast. In the past, empresses would send a gift to the mistress, but Navier didn't want to send Rashta a gift because she was not from a noble family. Then some other ladies asked Navier if the prince of the Western Empire would attend the celebration, mentioning rumors that he was handsome but a womanizer. Navier smiled and said she didn't know if the rumors were true, but she knew he would attend the ceremony. Then someone came to inform her that Rashta was there to see her. Navier clutched her teacup, not wanting to see her, but politely told them to let her in. Rashta entered with a smile, and Navier congratulated her on becoming the mistress. Rashta gave a cheesy smile and thanked her, saying Navier was like a sister to her. Eliza choked on her tea, and Navier was appalled at her words. Rashta said they were like sisters because they shared the same husband. Navier couldn't hide her feelings anymore and firmly said no. Rashta began her act of being an innocent crybaby, asking if Navier disliked her. Navier told her that even if she was his mistress, they didn't have to be sisters, and asked her to leave. Good thing Navier finally stood up for herself. That behavior was getting on my nerves. After a while, we see a sulking Rashta wondering if the Empress hates her. She told this to her tutor who came to teach her. The tutor was shocked and slapped his forehead because of her behavior. While walking in the garden, Navier found a feather in the air and caught it. She wondered where it came from. Then she heard a sound and turned to see what it was. She saw a golden bird lying nearby. It was so beautiful that even Navier wanted to touch it. She was shocked when the bird flew up and perched on her hand. Navier gently rubbed the bird. She noticed a note tied to it, which she opened. The letter said that the sender was a guest from abroad who would arrive at the New Year's ceremony. It also mentioned that the letter was written while drunk. Navier seemed amused by it and smiled. Her ladies-in-waiting were there too, and they told her to reply. Navier sent a letter saying that the bird had found its way to her, but if it could find its way back, she would be relieved, as that would mean the bird was more clever than its drunk master. The bird rubbed Navier's fingers as a goodbye, and she set it free to fly. Soon, we see a blonde-haired man holding the letter in his hands. And that man is Heinrich, the man Navier wanted to remarry, who was also the prince of the Western Empire. The ladies-in-waiting discussed the letter and the bird, excited and happy about it. But the happiness ended when Sovieshu appeared. He explained that Rashta needed a lady-in-waiting, but finding a noble would be difficult because she was a commoner. He thought that if Navier helped, some women might agree to serve her, even wanting her to lead the search. Navier felt the same heavy feeling she had felt before. So she decided to invite some noble women to find a lady-in-waiting for Rashta. At the tea party, when she asked, everyone was silent because they knew about the rumors regarding Sovieshu's mistress and her background. They didn't want to serve her. After a very awkward party, Navier rested on her bed and noticed the golden bird waiting for her with a letter from the mystery man. In the letter, he said that he was more intelligent than his bird and that he had sobered up. Navier was excited and replied, saying that it seemed the mystery person had not woken up from being drunk and asked if the bird had a name. She kissed the bird and sent it back to its owner. She was eager for the reply, but then Sovieshu suddenly came into her room to ask if any noblewomen were ready to be Rashta's lady-in-waiting. Navier said that none of them agreed. Sovieshu blamed Navier for spreading rumors about Rashta, preventing her from finding a lady-in-waiting. Navier told him that she had said nothing about her because she knew nothing about Rashta. That night, she cried in her favorite spot. Then she heard the sound of a bird and saw it was the same golden bird. She opened the reply, which said that the bird didn't need a name, but if she wanted, she could give it one. Navier named the bird Queen and wrote it in her reply, sending it off. We then see Queen in the next panel, and it turns out the bird is actually Heinrich, who has the power to transform into a bird. He wondered why she named him Queen, and his attendant, McKenna, who can also turn into a bird, scolded him for going off track. In the next scene, we see Rashta and a lady invading Navier's favorite spot. The lady told Rashta it would be okay to sit there because the Empress didn't come at that time of day. But then Navier appeared and told Rashta that she could be friends with the mistress Sovieshu brought in. Rashta, being the crybaby she is, told the Emperor about it. Sovieshu went to Navier after finding out, leaving her sad in her room. Soon, it's time for the New Year's ceremony, and Navier was even more depressed. Then she saw that Queen was waiting for her with a letter. She opened it and realized she had named a male bird Queen, and asked if he was a male bird all along. At the ceremony, the Empress and the Emperor greeted a very important guest, Prince Heinrich, first in line to the throne of the Western Kingdom. Prince Heinrich, being the charmer he is, kissed Navier's hand. That night, Queen came to visit her too. In the letter Queen brought, it asked Navier who she thought the person was and suggested a bet on who would guess first, with the prize being Queen for winning the bet. Navier was shocked. not only because of the bet, but because of the prize. The next morning, the prince was waiting for Navier to get a tour of the castle. Navier agreed to the request because he was her guest. While they were touring, they were interrupted by Rashta, who asked if they were going on a stroll because she was too. But Prince Heinrich just said to continue the tour. As they continued the tour, Heinrich asked Navier if she thought he was handsome and if she would invite him to the special banquet during the New Year's ceremony. Even though he had already been invited by the emperor, he wanted to be Navier's guest. Navier invited him to the banquet. Later, we see Navier getting ready for the banquet and walking towards Queen, who was waiting for her. In the next scene, we see Navier being escorted by Sovieshu at the New Year's ceremony. Navier noticed Rashta there and wondered why she was present. Sovieshu saw Rashta and wasted no time. He let go of Navier and went to Rashta. Meanwhile, Prince Heinrich was the talk of the hour, with everyone talking about how he was a Casanova. Navier saw that Sovieshu took Rashta for the first dance. Since she was the empress, she was supposed to have her first dance with Sovieshu. Knowing no one would ask her to dance, she decided to rest for a bit. But soon, Heinrich kneeled down and asked Navier for a dance, offering her a rose. Everyone in the room was shocked. Navier accepted his offer and danced with him. They discussed how the rumors they had heard about each other were not true and that they shouldn't believe everything they hear. Then, while Navier was teasing him, Rashta asked Heinrich for a dance. Sovieshu told Navier that since he had taken Rashta as his mistress, he couldn't object to Navier having a lover. But he said Prince Heinrich was not a good choice. Navier tried to explain that Prince Heinrich was not her lover, but Sovieshu was distracted when Rashta came to him crying because Heinrich would not dance with her. Navier decided she didn't want to see anything else, so she left the ballroom. As she walked down the hallway, Heinrich found her. He asked if she was okay and accompanied her to her room. Navier said she was fine and thanked Heinrich for accompanying her. Navier went into her room and started to cry, but then Queen arrived on her balcony. Navier went outside, hugged Queen, and said she was happy that Queen always came to comfort her whenever she was having a hard time. Then we see Eliza enter the room. Eliza came to tell her that Viscountess Verdi would no longer be her lady-in-waiting. Navier asked if the message was from Viscountess Verdi herself. The next day, she found out that Viscountess Verdi had stopped being her lady-in-waiting because of Rashta. Then Navier heard that Prince Heinrich had been exchanging letters with someone and asked for help to find out who the person was. Navier's ladies-in-waiting knew it was her, but Navier wanted their identities to remain secret so they could be friends. The rumors also reached Rashta, who thought the secret pen pal could be the Empress. But the lady-in-waiting told her that since Navier was prideful, she should not reveal herself. But Rashta had a plan. I wonder what that could be.